opportunity for silent prayer or meditation. Please be seated. Order, honorable members. The secretary will read the order.
Debate on vote number 1, the Presidency Appropriation Bill.
The Honorable, the President of the Republic.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker and Deputy Speaker, Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa, Honorable Ministers and Deputy Ministers, Honorable Members, our special guests, thank you for granting us the opportunity to present the Presidency budget vote today. Our primary goal as government is to make South Africa a better place to live in for all, and in particular, to improve the quality of life of the poor and the working class. Work continues in our quest to build a South Africa without poverty, inequality, unemployment, or crime. We want a South Africa without despair, where each person, young and old, has hope of a better future. Achieving a better life for our people includes ensuring the achievement of the country's vision with regard to safety and security. This vision states that people living in South Africa should feel safe at home, at school, at work, and in streets, and that they should live without fear. This freedom is currently being curtailed by the ongoing brutal attacks and killings of women and children in some parts of the country. Some of the women are killed by people they trusted, their intimate partners. Violence against women has been declared a priority crime by government. Nobody has the right to attack women. We urge women to report the perpetrators to the police. We also appeal to families to provide support to the survivors. Our country also faces other serious crimes against women and girls, namely human trafficking and forced prostitution. It is despicable that there are people who turn other human beings into commodities to make money. This is a gross violation of human rights and is tantamount to modern-day slavery. We appeal to the public to inform the police if they notice suspicious activity at any house or building. Government has enacted Combating of Trafficking in Persons Act, which is aimed at effecting international agreements, which includes the Palermo Trafficking in Persons Protocol. Minister Shabangu will speak further on these matters. As we mark Child Protection Week, we also urge families to support their children when they report abuse by anyone, including family members. They should also be taught to identify abuse and inappropriate conduct by adults toward them. I visited Elsa's River here in Cape Town for the second time yesterday. I had first visited the area 2 weeks ago to meet the family of 3-year-old Courtney Peters, who was brutally killed earlier this month. The community reminded us that the solution to crime will not only come from policing. They asked for social workers to support families and basic services such as housing. Indeed, strengthening households and families, reviving the social fabric of society, and improving the living conditions are key to the protection and prevention of crime. We need to unite as communities and all sectors, from business, traditional leaders, faith-based communities, and others, to promote safer communities. United, we shall defeat this scourge. Honorable Speaker, a better life for our people means participation in economic activities that will give them dignity and freedom from want. People need jobs or entrepreneurial opportunities. The partnership between government and business remains key in the drive to reignite growth in this difficult climate. I would thus like to reiterate our commitment to the work done together with business on improving investor confidence in the country. Our economy must remain competitive, not to merely prevent ratings downgrades, but for the good of the country. We also wish to reiterate that we remain committed to the expenditure ceiling in the 2017 budget and to stabilize debt levels. We also continue efforts to making our country attractive for investments. Government launched the Investor SA One-Stop Shop initiative early this year, bringing critical services needed to establish a business under one roof, such as visas, water or electricity licenses, tax requirements, and so forth. Honorable Speaker, there are some outstanding policy issues that we are also attending to. We have to finalize the broadband rollout, digital migration, and spectrum allocation as a means to reignite economic growth. On energy security, the Ministers of Public Enterprises and Energy are working together to find an amicable solution to the independent power producers' impasse. With regard to nuclear energy, we reiterate that the program will be implemented at a pace and scale that the country can afford. We await Parliament to conclude processing the Minerals and Petroleum Resources Development Amendment Bill and bring it back to the President. I sent it back to Parliament due to some issues that I believed would not pass the constitutional muster. The mining charter will be gazetted in a few weeks' time. Through the charter, government seeks to radically transform the ownership of the South African mining assets by ensuring that Black people meaningfully and effectively participate in the mining and minerals industries, while ensuring that the mining industry remains globally competitive. The mining charter includes requirements on beneficiation and procurement. There is also a community development element to ensure that mine communities and major labor-sending communities optimally benefit from mining activities taking place in their areas. The mining charter proposals will also further empower mine workers with requisite skills and enhanced job opportunities. Importantly, government continues to provide support to state-owned companies addressing governance and financial challenges. Support is being provided to the SAA, SABC, and ESCOM, and other affected entities. On social grants payments, the South African Social Security Agency, SASSA, will be submitting the quarterly reports to the Constitutional Court as per its judgment. SASSA has also begun engagements with other organs of state, including the South African Post Office, towards phasing out the services of the current service provider. The plan is to phase in the services of the new service provider by November this year. This will give the agency enough time to ensure a seamless transition when the current contract comes to an end in March 2018. The Department of Social Development has also released the much-awaited discussion paper on social security reform proposals for public consultations. The Interministerial Committee on Comprehensive Social Security, chaired by the President, will continue to guide the processes. Honorable Speaker, other important issues that we are attending to relate to the public discourse about what has been termed state capture. Let me place it on record that there is no opposition from either the government or the presidency to the calls for a commission of inquiry into the said state capture. We fully support an inquiry as it will help to uncover the facts and remove rumors about the extent of capture. What has caused a delay is the manner in which the former public protector directed that the inquiry should be done, which infringes on the powers of the President of the Republic. If this is left unattended, it would cause problems even for future heads of state, as it sets a wrong precedent. Legal advice obtained pointed at the fact that the remedial action on the appointment of a commission of inquiry undermines the doctrine of the separation of powers. There are various other issues that we have placed before court in our application for a review. We trust that this matter will be resolved as soon as possible. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, in the State of the Nation address, we gave prominence to the imperative of radical socio-economic transformation. Our interventions are aimed at facilitating ownership and management of enterprises and productive assets by Black people, workers, cooperatives, and other collective enterprises. sovereign downgrade of South Africa rating to junk works makes the process of transforming the economy of South Africa difficult, yet necessary. As we seek to radically transform the economy, we need to be mindful of the structural challenges as the South African economy continues to be driven by consumption, global demand for mineral commodities, and a very narrow productive base with few large companies that control the entire value chain. Another dimension is the financialization and the deindustrialization of the economy, which calls for the deliberate intervention by government to support the productive sectors of our economy, paying particular attention to the labor-intensive sectors. Honorable Speaker, supporting SMMEs has been identified as an area with large potential for employment creation and economic growth. Government is driving a program to revitalize township and rural enterprises. Our national informal business upliftment strategy is making headway as it provides support to deserving informal businesses so that they graduate into formal small businesses. Already, the National Gazelles program, a pilot by the Department of Small Business Development, has proved the potential of small businesses. 40 small businesses elected for specialized attention in 2015 survived a negative economy and even grew their turnovers. If we have 1 million small businesses and each employs 1 or 2 people, we would have created over 1 million jobs. This is how important investment into small business development is. In January over this year, the National Treasury gazetted new regulations in pursuit of preferential procurement by means of 30% of public procurement will be made available to small businesses and cooperatives. This will provide a market for the small business sector. Key support to small businesses must also include ensuring that they are not strangled by government regulations or red tape. We also reiterate that government departments in all 3 spheres must also pay SMMEs on time, as directed when they submit legitimate invoices. These are some of the interventions that will make transformation a reality for our people. We are pleased that the private sector supports our drive to boost SMMEs. We announced the establishment of a 1 billion rand SME fund following the meeting with the CEO initiative in October last year. We also encourage the private sector, which has a larger procurement muscle, to also embrace broad-based Black economic empowerment by actively buying from Black-owned companies and supporting SMMEs. Later this year, a rural and township economy summit will be held to, among other things, come up with critical ways to grow the indigenous entrepreneurs and ensure economic vibrancy in these areas where the majority of our people live. With regards to leveling the playing field, the Black Economic Empowerment Advisory Council advises the Presidency, advising the Presidency and government on broad-based Black economic empowerment interventions. Progress is being made in fighting fronting through the BBBEE Commission. As such, practices reverse the gains of transformation. The application and implementation of BEE codes in all sectors and transformation charters and plans for sectors will be finalized and gazetted. Honorable Speaker, South Africa continues to enjoy respect because of the turnaround we have achieved since 2009 on the HIV and AIDS program. The HIV and TB epidemics had killed many of our people before the new policy was adopted in 2019. In 2009, we have scored a number of achievements since then. The number of people testing for HIV has increased phenomenally. In 2009, government had conducted less than 2 million tests. Last year, more than 14 million people took the test, enabling them to know their status so that they can obtain treatment. South Africa has the largest HIV treatment program in the world, with more than 3.8 million people in the public sector on treatment. The reduction of the number of babies born with HIV has also been dramatic. By 2004, a total of 70,000 newborn babies were born HIV positive per annum. Due to our very successful prevention of mother-to-child transmission program, the figure has dramatically dropped to below 6,000. This government has saved the lives of our people and has ensured a better life for those living with HIV. According to Statistics SA, life expectancy is now 62.4 years, up from 55 years in 2002. We congratulate all South Africans on this remarkable achievement by our country. The Deputy President leads our efforts in the fight against HIV and AIDS as chairperson of the South African National AIDS Council. Honorable Speaker, we continue to find innovative and new ways of implementing government programs. In 2014, we launched Operation Phakisa, Big Fast Results methodology, aimed at ensuring faster implementation of our programs. Labor, business, government, academia, and other sectors come together to develop implementation plans for government programs. We have applied this methodology to the ocean economy, health through producing ideal clinics, information and communication technologies in schools, as well as agriculture and land reform, with very good results. Minister Radebe is the coordinator of the Phakisa methodology, working with the relevant sector ministers. He will report on the projects involved. Honorable Speaker, we begin National Youth Month tomorrow. Government is doing a lot of work already in supporting youth development. The Committee of Deputy Ministers in the Presidential Working Group on Youth continues to monitor the implementation of youth development program. Progress has been made in many sectors. Last year, I reported that the Department of Water and Sanitation is training thousands of young people as artisans through the War on Leaks program. More than 10,000 young people have been recruited thus far and are being trained as water agents, electricians, plumbers, machinists, and in other fields. These are young people who were unemployed and with no money for further education. I am encouraged that 55% of these trainees are females and 6% are people with disabilities. This is indeed a government at work, empowering our youth. Government also supports entrepreneurship for the youth. The National Youth Development Agency is directing more resources towards young aspirant entrepreneurs. More than 800 new enterprises will be created, and a further 18,000 young people will receive the necessary support in order to succeed as entrepreneurs. Through the Department of Human Settlements, over 500 host employers in the real estate sector will absorb over 8,000 unemployed youth and graduates to take up opportunities in real estate. Through the Department of Health and civil society organizations, the Dreams campaign will help grow girls and young women that are determined, resilient, empowered, AIDS-free, mentored, and safe. Our National Rural Youth Service Corps NARISEC program is the biggest youth development program of government, run by the Department of Rural Development and Land Affairs. To date, the program has recruited about 19,000 young people. The program targets rural unemployed young people between the ages of 18 and 25 who are in possession of a grade 12 qualification. A number of young people on leaving the NARISEC program start their own businesses. Some find employment while others study further. Honorable Speaker, government spends the highest share of its budget on young people through education and skills development. Government is doing as much as possible to support children of the poor and the working class to obtain higher education. Government paid the fee increase, capped at 8% for all qualifying registered students with a gross combined family income up to 600,000 rand per annum for the 2017 academic year. This is a grant which covers the increases for tuition fees and official accommodation, and will not have to be repaid by qualifying students. Government also made arrangements through the National Student Financial Aid Scheme, NSFAS, to pay the registration fees for all NSFAS-funded students as an upfront payment to universities and TVET colleges in January each year. Therefore, NSFAS qualifying students did not pay any registration or upfront fees in 2017. I established the HEHA Commission on Higher Education Funding after protests by students in favor of free higher education. The Commission will present its report at the end of June. We look forward to joining young people at the National Youth Day commemoration in Ventersdorp in the Northwest Province. Honorable Speaker, the Presidency actively supports our musicians and other performing arts. The presidential task team on creative industries, chaired by the Deputy Minister in the Presidency, has been hard at work to find solutions for some of the long-standing challenges that the creative sectors face. They have championed the process of bringing two important bills to Parliament that will bring about welcome change for practitioners in the industry. The Intellectual Property Bill and the Performers Protection Amendment Bill are now before Parliament, and the public hearings on these bills have begun. Lack of ownership of intellectual property affects many writers, producers, performers, and content creators. The new legislation will give creative practitioners the right to own their own and to profit from it. The task team of deputy ministers is also working closely with the agencies of the Department of Arts and Culture and the Department of Trade and Industry to create better systems for the funding of film and theater productions in the country. Compatriots, let me take this opportunity to congratulate the creators and cast of the film Kalushi, which was released in South African cinemas in the month of March. This film symbolizes the coming of age of South African cinema where quality films directed and performed by South Africans tell an epic South African story. Honorable members, one of the key features of our democracy is cooperative governance. The embodiment of cooperative governance at the national level is the President's Coordinating Council, in which the President meets with the premiers and the South African Local Government Association. The PCC worked on a lot of projects last year, including monitoring the implementation of the Back to Basics program on the revitalization of municipalities, the management of migration and service delivery interventions through the Presidential Hotline. The Presidential Infrastructure Coordinating Commission also brings together the leadership of the three spheres of government to discuss the seamless delivery of infrastructure programs across the country. Several projects are being rolled out, including the building of dams, schools, roads, hospitals, training colleges, and the 3 universities. We launched the Trans-Africa locomotive in April and the People's Train in Tshwane earlier this month. The People's Train boasts both comfort and safety for rail passengers. The infrastructure program improves the quality of life and contributes to economic growth and job creation. The Presidency also interacts with constitutional bodies such as the National House of Traditional Leaders and Chapter 9 institutions to discuss matters affecting their portfolios and to provide support. We also work with various stakeholders through presidential working groups in which we meet business, youth formations, women's groups, religious leaders, black professionals, and non-governmental organizations. The National Orders Advisory Council plays a critical role of assisting us to identify distinguished men and women who receive the highest honors from their country, the national orders. We take the country's human development needs forward through the Human Resource Development Council, which is chaired by the Deputy President. We wish to acknowledge and thank all these sectors, councils, and the working groups. We appreciate their ongoing support. Compatriots, we celebrated Africa Day on the 25th of May, marking the 54th anniversary of the OAU-AU. In marking Africa Month, We also celebrated the legacy of President O.R. Tambo, the country's foremost diplomat who opened the continent and the world to South Africa through his tireless work to bring about freedom. In his memory, South Africa continues to contribute to shaping the agenda of African renewal and the implementation of Agenda 2063. We participate in the special efforts of ensuring the silencing of the guns and ending pockets of conflict by 2020, so that everyone can live in peace. We continue to support sister nations such as South Sudan, Lesotho, Central African Republic, DRC, Mali, and others to find solutions. We also continue to stand with the people of Western Sahara as they struggle for self-determination so that we can conclude the decolonization of Africa. We support the quest for regional integration through building the necessary infrastructure to connect capitals, harmonize trade regimes, and grow the means of production. South Africa values her membership of strategic forums such as the G20, BRICS, IPSA, the Indian Ocean Rim Association. They add immense value to South Africa as we pursue the national interests. South Africa will assume the chair of SADC in August and that of the Indian Ocean Rim Association later in the year. We shall do our best in serving these two regions to advance sustainable growth and development. We shall continue our advocacy of a reformed system of global governance, including the reform of the United Nations Security Council and the strengthening of the United Nations. Compatriots, one of the highest of Africa Month, the highlights of Africa Month has been the appointment of Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus as the new Director General of the World Health Organization, the first African to hold this position. We also congratulate Justice Mandisa Maya on being appointed as the first female president of the Supreme Court of Appeal in our country. We wish them all of the best in their new responsibilities. Honorable Speaker, allow me to remind smokers that today is the World No Tobacco Day. They should kick the habit to ensure healthier lifestyle. Madam Speaker, let me take this opportunity to thank the Deputy President. The ministers in the Presidency and the Deputy Minister for their support. I also appreciate the contribution and the hard work of the Director General, the Chief Operations Officer, the Presidency, Audit Committee, advisors, senior management, and all staff in the Presidency. Honorable Speaker, it is my privilege indeed to commend Budget Vote 1 to the House. I thank you.
Thank you.
I thank the Honorable President, the Deputy Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Deputy Speaker, His Excellencies, the President and Deputy President, Honorable Ministers, Deputy Ministers, Honorable Members, our guests in the gallery, I greet you all. To begin with, let me acknowledge the 20th anniversary of our Constitution, which we achieved this year. Our democracy would be devoid of this character and substance without the profound doctrines of human dignity and equality enshrined in our Constitution. 20 years on, since its official adoption, it stands as our most potent mechanism to enable restorative justice and transformation. It is the instrument for systematically erasing the atrocities committed against our people. It remains the only antidote to heal the divisions of the past. Honorable Speaker, molded in the embers of the people's struggle for freedom and self-determination, our Constitution is a resolve and will of freedom fighters after the fall of the apartheid regime, that South Africans should, for themselves, a new identity anchored in equality, social cohesion, and economic inclusion forge. The founders of the ANC were from the onset determined to realize progress. South Africa and her people must appreciate the significance of unity. Such unity founded on the recognition of their diversity and thereby bound by history and common cause to create a better world and a better humanity. As the South African laureate, also president of the ANC, Chief Albert Litulu, observed, and I quote, "Here in South Africa, with all our diversities of color and race, we will show the world a new pattern of democracy. What is important is that we can build a homogeneous South Africa on the basis not of color, but of human values." Close quote. Inspired by such wisdom, the authors of the Constitution inscribed in the preamble, "We, the people of South Africa, recognize the injustices of our past, honor those who suffered for justice and freedom in our land, respect those who have worked to build and develop our country, and believe that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, united in our diversity." Close quote. The preamble recognizes that the united but diverse people of this land emerge from a dehumanizing historical past that requires redress. Given the historical context of race, class, gender contradictions, the ANC understood that our Constitution should be an an important instrument to restore the dignity of the Black majority. In this regard, placing a premium on nation building and the need to engender social cohesion. Nation building anchored on reconciliation among the people, the transformation of government institutions, and the introduction of new legislation to usher in a new and democratic dispensation. Commemorative events will continue to play a critical role in the process of nation building and social cohesion. A government's calendar aligned to those commemorative activities helps to ensure public participation. These events are an instrument for reconciliation and nation building within the context of our constitutional democracy. They must be strategically galvanized to embody the spirit of human rights, cultural diversity, equality, and tolerance for all South Africans. Honorable Speaker, the scale of our transformation, its profound impact on the people and environmental that until then had catered for the tiniest minority in our homeland is yet to be fully told. Necessarily, nation building demanded that government urgently address socio-economic challenges of the majority. Arguably, we embarked on the most unprecedented egalitarian program globally, wherein healthcare was made free to pregnant women and children of ages 0 to 6. Social security and pensions were extended to the poor and aged and ensured access to housing, water, electricity, education, etc. To implement these objectives and advance against the backdrop of declining apartheid economy, economic growth had to be the focus. Simultaneously, mindful that for the people to fully participate in the life of their country, they needed to share directly in its economy. Hence the triple BEE policies with the aim to de-racialize the economy, ensure equity, ownership by the Black majority and Africans in particular in the entities that were exclusively white. Inferior racial education created a skill deficit in the country, especially among the majority, and thus government focused on skills development acquisition to impact on jobs and productivity. Government has and continue to subsidize business in order to protect existing jobs. Further, government funds internship programs for the youth and unemployed graduate to enable them gain the necessary work experience. The EPWP, without which the majority poor would be worse than destitute, has been a mainstay in assisting to alleviate the scourge of poverty and minimize unemployment. Today, we can attest to the strides in science and technology with the SKA project, among others, the establishment of new universities of medicine and technology, respectively, the reopening of training colleges for teachers and nurses, advances in rural development and land reform, the expanding social wage and social security network, infrastructure rollout, and investment in manufacturing, small and medium enterprises as other catalyst sectors. In addition, progress is registered through the 9-point plan and the oceans economy as means to ensure greater economic growth and development. However, despite all this intervention, economic growth has been sluggish since the global financial crisis. As a result, progress in fundamentally changing the lives of the most poor and working people has been slow. This necessitated the ANC's 53rd National Conference in Mangaung to resolve on the second phase of radical economic transformation, urging the state to take a fundamental approach in its interventions in the economy as means to advance the national democratic revolution. As the conference declaration states, and I quote, responding to these challenges, we are boldly entering the second phase of the transition from apartheid colonialism to a national democratic consolidation, critical both to improve the quality of life of all South Africans and to promote nation building and social cohesion. In this sense, Mangaung reiterated the conclusions of Morogoro Strategy and Tactics when it said, and I quote, in the last resort, it is only the success of the national democratic revolution which, by destroying the existing social and economic relationships, will bring with will bring with it a correction of the historical injustices perpetrated against the indigenous majority and thus lay the basis for a new and deeper internationalist approach, close quote. Honorable Speaker, we continue to grapple with the task of building a new social order. Colonialism coupled with the racial domination, exploitation, and patriarchy bore violent scars into our human makeup. Our nation's psyche, jaded and marred from torture, maiming, and murder, repeats these acts of terror on the unsuspecting, powerless, and vulnerable in society. In recent weeks, we have seen an upsurge in the rape, death, and disappearances of women and children across our towns and cities. Femicide has gripped many a family and home. LGBTI people have been attacked, brutalized, and murdered. Social media abounds with stories of strange men in unknown cars who hijacked women on their normal daily walkabout. Women, young and old, and children must live in a free, peaceful, and safe environment. LGBTI persons have the freedom to associate, express themselves, and live in accordance with their wishes without fear. These wanton acts of murder and mayhem continue unabated despite government campaigns such as those of 16 days of activism against women and children abuse. These violence acts are an indication that we are far from becoming that cohesive society we want to be. In this regard, it is critical to support and enhance the work underway in government. We need to forge strong and lasting cooperation between state organs and the people. This requires the re-establishment of networks and relations through meaningful partnerships with communities. This is a painstaking, gradual process whose outcomes can only be visible over a period of time. In partnership with the communities, government can provide material resource support to the programs and campaigns undertaken by communities. Overtures must be made to interfaith organizations to play a greater role in raising consciousness and changing individual and societal attitudes. We commend the recent weekend meeting of the National Executive Committee of the African National Congress for having deliberated on this matter and for reaffirming the human freedoms of women and children. The statement of the NEC recognizes that, and I quote, "As a country, we must consistently affirm the freedom of girls, children, and women. We will have been successful in our quest to build a truly non-sexist society and dealt with the brutal effects of patriarchy when in South Africa, a young woman in the middle of the night can walk alone without fear of assault, attack, or rape going back home from wherever she comes from. While there is no single magic bullet that will do away with violence against women and children overnight, condemnation of such behavior by society alone will not resolve this problem. The ANC therefore calls to action all its structures and society at large to become actively engaged in campaigns that involve communities in the prevention of femicide, rape, and child molestation. ANC branches must actively lead a campaign to encourage the defense of the most vulnerable people in our society. We must also teach ourselves to drop the language of weakness, vulnerability, protection, and women and children, as these erode women's citizenship. We must affirm their inalienable right to justice, safety, and freedom and equality, close quote. We encourage other parties in their official structures and in different formations where they hold sway to amplify the message and join in efforts to turn this situation around. After all, as members of parliament, we have sworn an oath to the Constitution, which enjoins to protect and defend human freedoms too. Honorable Speaker, Underlining the concept of social cohesion is the motivation to ensure a society that is inclusive, where individuals and groups belong together and share common values. Central to this endeavor is the attempt to develop an understanding of what holds societies or groups together and how that happens or is done. Among the values and principles inherent in our Constitution is this upholding and reaffirmation of the people's collective sentiments and views, so that the electorate can, from time to time, accord those who lead it with a fresh mandate to govern. In between the elections are the imbizos in order to interact with the people and assess the effectiveness of government. In this moral remaking of our society, it is demanded that we make use of all the instruments provided for in the Constitution. It will come as no surprise to us that in the context of the debate of the presidency's budget vote, some in the opposition would seek to turn this into a matter of the person holding the office and not the work of the office as an institution. The mandate of the legislature is to oversee the work of the executive. We often lose sight of this responsibility when, as parties, we dwell on settling scores and political vendettas with old political enemies. In the process, we fail to scrutinize the efficacy of policies and programmatic systems government has put in place. For us as members of parliament, oversight of our country's policy priorities is very critical. We have to go back to basics by building a cohesive parliament that thrives on robust debate, not abuse. Our vision of building a united, non-racial, non-sexist, democratic, and prosperous South Africa remains steadfast. Our policies remain consistent with the objective of ensuring an equal, just, and democratic society. This vision, deriving from the Freedom Charter, is found in Chapter 2 of our Constitution, the Bill of Rights. The NDP is the vision and long-term plan through which we intend to realize change, build capabilities of our state and capabilities in society. The NDP urges us to work collaboratively as a nation to advance South Africa's transformation agenda. This means that civil society, religious bodies, including communities across the board, must stand in unity with government in order to build a cohesive society. A culture that protects and promotes human rights must find expression on every social platform in South Africa. Human rights ethos must also be infused in the education system, in places of worship and where we commune for economic purposes. Furthermore, the family unit is also a critical incubating platform to teach our children that the future of this country depends on their ability to respect one another. Let us implement the NDP and use it to rally to all social partners to participate in bringing about the South Africa where all who live in it can fully enjoy all the freedoms we fought for and seek to realize. The month of May is Africa Month. On May the 25th each year, we take stock of the developments in our continent, both positive and negative. The ANC, and therefore its government, has committed itself to realizing a better Africa and a better world. We are aware of numerous efforts undertaken by our government, in particular where the President has acted as an envoy to ensure peace and stability. Our country continues to deploy its soldiers in the countries where war and strife reigns. Our efforts, as demonstrated through the recent state visit by His Excellency the President to the Republic of Tanzania, extend to strengthen partnership in the areas of trade and commerce. Indeed, we need to enhance greater cooperation and integration between and amongst us for our individual countries and the continent as a whole to prosper. Arguably, our continent is in a better place today than ever before. There are indications of potential growth in sub-Saharan Africa for 2017-2018. Democracy in most parts of the continent is a certainty. There is also greater cooperation and solidarity between and among the different countries. We should build on these advances and work towards achieving the AU's Vision 2063. There are, however, some members of this House who need to be reminded of the sovereignty of other nations, a value inherent in our Constitution, drawn from the Freedom Charter's clause, and I quote, "There shall be peace and friendship." In that clause, close quote, in that clause, the Charter declares that, open quote, "people of the protectorates shall determine their own future," close quote. The honorable leader of the opposition, having meddled in the affairs of another country, cries foul that the ANC or the president was silent about his deportation from Zambia. These are ramblings of someone who is ignorant of the ethos of our Constitution. It would help the honorable member to know that the principal architect of our Constitution, our former ANC president, the O.R. Tambo, said about the relations with other peoples and nations at the first Congress of the MPLA in 1977. Our former president said, and I quote, "We seek to live in peace with our neighbors and the peoples of the world in conditions of equality, mutual respect, and equal advantage." Honorable members, let us work together with all our people without regard to race, class, or gender to realize the freedoms we wish all to enjoy. The presidency should continue to provide strategic leadership even in the face of the challenges confronting our nation. Brick by brick, the walls of humanity, equality, and socio-economic inclusion will be rebuilt. The ANC moves for the support of Vote 1, the presidency. I thank you.
The Honorable, the Leader of the Opposition.
Madam Speaker, honorable members, fellow South Africans, Bagaetsu, Dumelang. Like many South Africans, I grew up believing in the ANC as the party of liberation. It was the party of my parents, the party that turned this country around and set our course for a future that was infinitely better than our painful past. Back then, the ANC made life better for millions of South Africans. It brought clean water, electricity, street lights, and waste collections to places that had none. It built RDP houses all over the country. It introduced a social grant system that shielded the vulnerable from the harsh impact of poverty. In those early days, the ANC truly was the party of and for the people. But that did not last. One by one, honorable leaders made way for opportunists until nothing remained of that original movement. I could not have imagined that the party that liberated us would end up captured and corrupted. The party of Oliver Reginald Tambo, whose name is invoked by every speaker in these debates. Fellow South Africans, we will do very well to remember the words of what Albisech said about Tambo, and I quote, "Anyone claiming to speak in the name of Oliver Tambo would know that his intrinsic sense of political honor made him totally and utterly opposed to attempts by people to use the name of the struggle for material accumulation, personal or family enrichment, or individual ambition. Honorable members, every single time you mention O.R. Tambo, you remind us how far the ANC has fallen. It pains me to say that the ANC of Oliver Tambo doesn't exist anymore and hasn't, in fact, for many years. So it begs the question, what has happened? This has happened. This president, this man happened. He killed the ANC.
On a point of order, Speaker.
Order. Honorable Maimane, can you please take your seat? Honorable Khatebe.
I'm rising on Rule 84, Honorable Speaker. The gesture of the leader of the opposition to the president and the way he refers to him as this man is not parliamentary. It must be fixated properly.
Honorable Maimane, please, I did see that gesture, and please refrain from referring to the president as this man.
Okay.
Please proceed.
Make no mistake, it was already wounded before he plunged the knife in, weakened by a culture of patronage and corruption and crippled by cadre deployment. But he struck the final blow. He wiped out Oliver Tambo's legacy to make himself rich. First, he killed the ANC, and now he is killing our country. Honorable Speaker, today we vote on the budget of the presidency. But we cannot stand here and pretend that we are voting on a budget that will serve the people of this country. Ga se madi a batho ba mo Afrika Borwa, ke madi a ga lelapa la kwa Gupta. We cannot ignore the fact that the President of the Republic has allegedly made a crooked deal with a crooked family, and now they own him. We cannot ignore the fact that the President appoints cabinet ministers.
On a point of order.
There's a point of order. Honorable Maimane, please take your seat. Yes, Honorable Khatebe.
I'm rising on Rule 85. The member must come with a substantive motion if he's going to deal with this thing. He cannot just hold on the straws to come and put
Indeed, Honorable Maimane, if you are going to make accusations, please bring them in the form of a substantive motion. Yes, Honorable
Madam Speaker,
Stienhuisen.
may I draw your attention to Rule 63 of the National Assembly rules. Members of this House have freedom of speech. You spoke yesterday about the importance of a robust parliament. How on earth are we supposed to have a robust parliament if people can't even make political points in this House? The Honourable Maimane used the words allegedly, and now these are the same allegations that appear on the front pages of every members not to be interrupted into making a point of order.
Please leave the Honorable Stienhuisen. Please leave him to finish his point of order.
These allegations on the front pages of the newspapers of South Africa on a daily basis, how can that be permissible that in a house where freedom of speech is supposed to be protected and enshrined, it's not possible to speak about these things?
Well, Honorable Stienhuisen, the rules of this House must prevail. If we have a rule that says when you accuse an honorable member of this House, you must do it through a substantive motion, then that's what you have to do. Please proceed, Honorable Maimane.
These are facts made in the Public Protector's report, which the President is opposing in court. He hasn't successfully found a conviction, therefore those Public Protector remedial action stand. We can't simply come here and stand and pretend.
On a point of order.
Honorable Khatebe, what is the point of order?
The very same report the honorable member is referring to is in the court now for review. So he cannot come and use that here. Thank you.
Honorable Khatebe, I'm not sure that's a point of order.
It's not.
Please proceed, Honorable Maimane.
We can't come and pretend here that the presidency is anything other than the headquarters of a Gupta empire, with President Zuma acting as a front for them. The budget we are debating here today is nothing more than a sponsorship deal for a corrupt syndicate. If we vote for it, we support a budget for a mafia shadow state. Section 85 of the Constitution says that the executive...
On a point of order, Speaker.
What's the point of order, Honorable?
Is it parliamentary
Honorable
for the-
Maimane, please take your seat.
Is it parliamentary for the leader of the DA to actually use the language that this is a mafia parliament to maintain the decorum of the House, the correct language needs to be used in this House?
I will look into the mafia parliament. I don't believe it's a mafia parliament because that refers to the integrity of all the honorable members of this House. But I will still rule on that afterwards. Please
fact,
proceed.
The point I made was that it's a mafia shadow state. And Section 85 of the Constitution says that the executive authority of the Republic is vested in the President. So why is it vested in Dubai? This is a budget for President Gupta. Keep that in mind when you cast your vote.
On a point of order, Chair.
Honorable Maimane, please take your seat. Yes, Honorable
I'm still
Hadebe.
rising on Rule 84, Chair. Speaker, the President cannot be referred to as President Gupta, please.
Honorable Maimane, can you please withdraw that?
Madam Speaker.
Honorable Maimane,
Madam
there is
Speaker.
no President Gupta in this House.
So-
Can you please withdraw?
Madam
Correct.
Speaker.
Honorable Maimane, I'm still dealing with Honorable Maimane.
But you're wrong. And
Please
you've
take your seat,
misinterpreted.
Honorable
No, I won't.
Steenhuisen.
I won't take
Take
my
your seat.
I won't.
Honorable Maimane.
Speaker,
Honorable Maimane.
if there's no President
Honorable
Gupta,
Maimane.
if there's no
Honorable
President
Maimane, I am talking to you. It's not the other way around. Honorable Maimane, withdraw President Gupta.
I can't. If there's no President Gupta,
Honorable
why is it-
Maimane, please withdraw the words President Gupta.
Why? On what ground?
Because there is no President Gupta in this
So
House.
why is anyone offended?
Honorable Maimane, please withdraw President Gupta.
Madam Speaker.
Honorable Steenhuisen, please don't interrupt. I'm busy with Honorable Maimane.
But you interrupt me all the time.
Honorable
you interrupt me
Maimane.
all the time. So don't pretend you're the saint and this you're not.
Honorable Steenhuisen, please take your seat.
I'm allowed to defend my member at the podium.
Honorable
I
Steenhuisen,
won't.
take your seat.
I won't. I won't.
Honorable Steenhuisen, take your seat.
I won't.
He is not going to proceed
I won't.
without withdrawing
Madam
President
Speaker.
Gupta. You must withdraw President Gupta,
He
Honorable
didn't refer to the
Maimane.
president as President Gupta. He was referring to Atul and AJ Gupta as President Gupta. It wasn't a
Honorable
reference to the president.
Maimane, please withdraw President.
Mr. Jacob Zuma is President Gupta.
I am asking you to withdraw President Gupta. Honorable Maimane, withdraw President Gupta.
Why?
Because in this House, there is no President Gupta. And I am insisting on us respecting the honor of this House.
Honorable Speaker.
Please, can you let me insist on us finishing this business of the Honorable Maimane and the words President Gupta? Because you know we're not dealing with the budget of any President Gupta.
Yes,
Can you please withdraw that?
This is not an NNC meeting.
Honorable Maimane,
Speaker, can I ask that we refer this matter to a rules committee?
I prevail on you to withdraw, and then you can pursue the issue of the rules committee after having withdrawn.
This is not an ANC caucus.
I never said it's President Zuma who's President Gupta.
Honorable Maimane, can you please assist the progress of the House by withdrawing in keeping with the ruling of the chair?
I withdraw, and yet clearly, if the shoe fits, wear it. If the shoe fits, you should wear it.
Honorable Steenhuisen, I see you are on your feet. Honorable Maimane, will you please take your seat? Honorable Steenhuisen.
Madam Speaker, I draw your attention to Rule 26(4), if I may. Madam Speaker, you have a duty to act fairly and impartially and apply the rules with due regard to ensuring the participation of all members of all parties in a manner consistent with democracy. You've presided over a spurious point of order where the Honourable Maimane was referring to Mr. AJ and Mr. Atal Gupta as President Gupta, not the man sitting over there. It was an unfair ruling that you've made, and you've not acted impartially. Also, you should be protecting Mr. Maimane as a constitutional office bearer of this House from the spurious points of orders from the members on that side. We could have sat and took points of order till the cows came home when the President was speaking. We refrained from doing so because we want the political debate to happen. What's happening now is when these spurious points of order are made, designed purely to interrupt a member's speech, they impede the debate in the House. It's your duty to protect the Honourable Maimane. I know you don't like him, I know you don't like any DA member, but it's your duty to protect her still. And if you don't want to, please leave the chair and let's get somebody in there who actually wants to take their job seriously.
Honorable Steenhuisen, I give you your right to speak even when what you are saying is totally out of order. Honorable Maimane was referring to he himself turned around and explained to me, I was referring to the budget of the President Gupta. And I'm saying there's no budget of President Gupta here. Can he please please proceed, Honorable Maimane, with your speech.
Madam Chair, on a point of order. Madam Chair, on a point of order.
What's the point of order, Honorable Member?
That racist white boy there is referring to the President as that man, Who's this that man? He must refer to the President in a respectful manner.
Honorable Steenhuisen, what is the point you are standing on?
Well, Madam Speaker, if you knew your rules properly, you would have ruled that out of order immediately. But because it's an ANC member, he was allowed to proceed. You know that...
Why are you on your feet?
Because it is unparliamentary in terms of Rule 84 to refer to another member of this House as a racist, and secondly, to cast racial epithets. This is the same Mr. Dick who was actually calling people rented darkies this week and called the Honourable Van Damme a straatmate, and he's been allowed to get away with it.
If only you could sometimes give a space for the chair to deal with issues of the House.
Gotta be
Please take your seat.
You gotta be kidding me.
Take your seat. Honorable Dirks, can you please withdraw the racist term because it is unparliamentary to use that term against a member of the House?
Honourable Speaker, I withdraw the racist term, but he must withdraw calling the President that man. He must withdraw.
Please, let's allow Honorable Maimane to proceed now.
Speaker, I rise on a point of order. Yeah.
Honorable Waters.
May I address you?
Sure.
Speaker, the Honourable Dix also said that the Honourable Steenhuisen was a white boy. So first of all, casting racial aspersions on a person. And boy also has a certain connotation, as you would know. So he's got to withdraw the white and the boy unconditionally as well. Thank you.
Can you please withdraw white boy? He is an honourable member.
Madam Speaker.
Even when he doesn't say honourable things, but you refer to him as an honorable member.
This is not ANC chairperson.
Honorable Derst, can you please withdraw white boy?
But Madam Speaker, I withdraw that. I didn't know it is not a boy, so I'm withdrawing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable Steenhuisen.
Madam Speaker, I drew your attention to Rule 84. You've accused me of saying dishonorable things. I'm an honorable member of this House, and I think it's unacceptable for you as the Speaker of the House to accuse another member of saying dishonorable things, and I would ask you to withdraw it.
I said,
all members are
I said even when.
Exactly.
Even when. Honorable Maimane,
Madam Speaker,
I now
please will you withdraw
come
that I
back.
said dishonorable things in this
no,
House?
Honorable Steenhuisen, you are
Well,
not
then I
going
would
to
say
dictate.
that you are a dishonorable
You
speaker.
will not dictate to the
Well,
chair.
you are a dishonorable speaker.
On a point of order.
You are
Honorable-
a disgusting
On a point of
leader.
order.
And you should be thrown out of the House by the white shirts.
Honorable
point of order.
Steenhuisen. You should go for anger management, I think.
On a point of order.
Honorable Khatebe, can we please allow Honorable Maimane to proceed and
Madam
finish
Speaker,
with
if
his
I need to go
finish?
for anger management, you need some serious sessions of psychiatry.
No, order, Chair.
On a point of order.
Honorable Khatebe.
Order, Chair. Order, Speaker. Order, Speaker,
Honorable
order.
Speaker.
Order, Speaker.
Honorable Speaker.
This cannot be allowed, Honorable Steenhuisen, to misconduct himself like that. The names that he has called you is really dishonest of this House. And we cannot be able to allow this thing of this behavior. Especially when women of this country are being abused. He continued to abuse you as a woman of this country. It shows he's dishonest and, well, I can call the name.
This is not an ANC meeting.
Really out of order.
On a point of
Honorable member, it's okay. Can we please all take our seats and allow the Honorable, the leader of the opposition, to finish up his speech?
For a party that stands for non-racialism, this is a brand new law. It indicates very clearly that we come here and we say some things, but inherently we want to divide this nation on the basis of the color of the people of this country. Let South Africans always be aware. Fellow South Africans, our nation is facing a crisis. 9 million people wake up every day not knowing where they're going to find work. We have a junk status economy and investors are leaving our country all the time. Our education system in this country is considered amongst the very worst in the world. Our children disappear every day. Women are being raped and murdered every single day. But sadly, these are the things we ought to be focusing on and talking about. But instead, we come here to come and raise spurious points of order and a president who comes to ask for a budget simply so that he can sustain his own personal project at the expense of the people of this country. Fellow South Africans, I am sick to death of reading every weekend emails about how our state has been sold off to someone else. I would rather be reading about the vision of our country. I remind you here and now, he, because I can't address to him as a man or a woman, he has killed the ANC. We will not allow him to kill South Africa.
Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Member.
Is the leader of the DA ready to take a question?
Are you ready to take a question,
No.
Honorable Maimane? No, he's not prepared to.
I want to ask the question as to whether he's a pessimist.
No, allow him to please proceed with his speech.
It begs the question, what did you, the ANC, do about it? Because it was well within your power to stop him. If you had the will and the conviction to do the right thing, to do your sworn duty to your country, you could have stopped him. If you could see beyond the factional battles and loyalties, the perks of privileges, the Gupta party line, you would have stopped him. But you weren't prepared to do that, were you? Because if you were, you would have done so a long time ago. You had plenty of opportunities, fellow members. On 6 occasions in the past 7 years, you could have supported a motion of no confidence in President Zuma, but you didn't. You could have recalled him when the Constitutional Court found that he'd violated the Constitution, but you didn't. You could have removed him from the office when the state of capture report implicated him in corruption on a grand scale, but you didn't. You could have removed him over this weekend when there were thousands of emails that came out linking him to a corrupt Gupta regime. But you didn't. When many of you sat here and were being recalled and reshuffled and moved, you could have removed him, but you didn't. So, sesempontshang se ke gore bo botlhe le tshwana le ene. Niafana, it's one and the same thing. You've rallied behind him every single time. It's President Zuma first, South Africa last. It's the Guptas first, South Africa last. It's the ANC first, South Africa last. In fact, it's corruption first, South Africa last. Honorable members, many of you who sit in these benches had the courage to remove the apartheid government. I'm amazed that you lack the courage today to remove one individual. You have shown South Africa your true colors. You have shown us that South Africa does not have a President Zuma problem. It doesn't even have a Gupta problem. It has an ANC problem. The truth is that President Zuma and the ANC are one and the same thing. That's why the ANC can never fix itself. And a new leader at the top will just be a new front for the same corruption, for the same looting. You have left South Africans with no choice but to vote the ANC out of government. The ANC's funeral will be held in 2019 because it is in fact already dead. Fellow South Africans, we dare not languish in hopelessness. When things fall apart, in fact, they fall into place. President Zuma may have killed the ANC, but we will not let him kill South Africa. We have a vision for South Africa. And it's a South Africa that has reinvented itself and it is flourishing under a new government. We have a vision for a South Africa that belongs to all that live in it, that work in it. An economy that can be inclusive so that more South Africans can find work. Where the concentration of wealth is not in a few individuals, but in all the hands of South Africans. We have a vision for South Africa where every young person can find opportunities to become whatever they want to become, born on the values of freedom, fairness, and opportunity. A vision that requires allies from across, that requires the cooperation of every party and every South Africans who share our dream for a forward-looking, inclusive South Africa. It will, fellow South Africans, also require the collaboration of the good men and women who remain in the benches to my right, who are still torn between their love for our country and their loyalty for a party that no longer exists. This is not about the color of your skin or the t-shirt you wear. It is about a patriotism and a love for this country. And all that matters is that you must want the best for the 56 million South Africans who call this place home. Anyone who agrees with these values that form the foundation of our plan to rebuild South Africa is welcome on board. These values are simply values of constitutionalism, an inclusive economy that grows, non-racialism, a capable state, and zero tolerance for corruption. If we can agree on these values, then we can work together to build the country that we want to be in, where there's no corruption, where there's no stealing, where there's no state capture, and when there are no Guptas. Fellow South Africans, we have allies in the opposition benches. And I know we have allies in business, in labor, in civil society, and in churches. And I'm counting on allies even in members of the ANC who are in these benches. Because truth is, if you want the same things that we want for our country, if you cannot stand that what has happened under President Zuma and the Guptas, then we should be on the same side. Then we should stand together to build a post-ANC South Africa. In this post-ANC South Africa, we will put the education of our children by supporting poor schools so that they become centers of excellence. No child must be left behind. No union must be more powerful than our children. We will work to build a range of education, of training, and work opportunities for our young people. In this post-ANC South Africa, we will recognize the important role that investors and entrepreneurs play in creating jobs and fighting poverty. We will ensure that we have a jobs and justice funds that in fact stimulates micro-enterprise and helps to bring justice to South Africa, particularly for those who are left behind. We will modernize our economy and will invest in industries that make us globally competitive. In this post-ANC South Africa, we will double the police force and we will secure our borders, and we will in fact make sure that we look at ways to attract skills and talents from all across the country. Our women and children will be safe in a post-ANC South Africa. We will, fellow South Africans, choose our global friends and will stand with them in times of needs, not Bashir. We will stand with people like our Zambian counterpart, Hakainde Hichilema, who was thrown in jail by a corrupt government. He will know in a post-ANC South Africa that we stand for human rights and will stand against corrupt governments in our continent. In this post-ANC South Africa, we will do everything we can.
Order, Honorable Maimane. Can
Honorable
you take your
Speaker,
seat? Yes, Honorable.
The leader of the DA is
Please take a
misleading.
seat, Honorable Maimane.
The leader of the DA is misleading Parliament and the public, pretending as if there's no governance now, as if there will only be governance when the DA comes into so-called power
That's not
in
a point of
2019,
order,
which is
Honorable
just an
member.
illusion.
It's not a point of order, it's a point of view and a point of debate. Please proceed, Honorable Maimane.
Fellow South Africans, don't lose hope. They are screaming because they are nervous about post-2019. And in this post-ANC South Africa, we will do everything we can to create opportunities for people to stand on their own 2 feet and escape the dependency of social grants. But for those who need them, we will double the grant income in South Africa. In this post-ANC South Africa, we will elect a president who will use the presidency budget to serve the people, not to fight endless legal battles so he can stay out of jail. Fellow South Africans, this is our plan to bring our country back on track. And already parts of it are underway. Our new coalition governments in Johannesburg, Tshwane, and Nelson Mandela Bay are already making inroads into reversing the damage left behind in those cities. In these metros, we've tarred new roads, launched new metro police, a narcotics unit, a K-9 unit, handed over thousands of title deeds, launched new housing projects, and in fact, here in the city of Cape Town, we've allowed for unemployed South Africans to travel on our bus system so they can find work. Coalition governments are never easy, but we will work to make sure they prosper. It will require a big shift in the way we think, and it will require many of you to accept that the ANC you once knew no longer exists. Jacob Zuma killed South Africa, killed the ANC. We won't let him kill
Order, Chair.
Yes, honorable member.
The leader of the opposition just referred to the president in his first name terms, and then it is unparliamentary.
I will rephrase. Mr. Jacob Zuma killed the ANC. We will not let him kill South Africa. I thank you.
The Honorable, the Minister in the Presidency.
Honorable Speaker and Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, His Excellency President of the Republic, the Honorable Deputy President, Honorable members, the DG in the Presidency, members of staffs, ladies and gentlemen, and fellow South Africans. This year, our country, Africa, and indeed the world celebrate the birth of President Oliver Tambo. Our President, in his State of the Nation address, dedicated to 2017 as the year in honor of this visionary and revolutionary leader of South African people. To honor this icon of our liberation struggle, we owe it to our people to work together to achieve the vision of our Constitution to transform our country into a more equitable, integrated, and just society. Oliver Tambo dedicated his life to the liberation of the black majority from apartheid colonialism, inspired by the values of democracy, non-racialism, and equality. Tambo advocated a vision of a South Africa in which all our people live and work together as equals in conditions of peace and prosperity. To remember Oliver Tambo is to remind ourselves that until the black majority fully enjoy the fruits of freedom, both political and economic freedom, the vision and the mission of President OR will not have been fulfilled. Honorable members, we are on course towards realizing Tambo's vision, a vision that is inscribed in our Constitution, which OR inspired so much. South Africa is now a stable and peaceful country. Our democracy is thriving. Our Constitution protects the rights and the freedoms of all its citizens. Our economy is functional and continues to attract global investor interest because it has unlimited opportunities and huge potential to grow faster and to be inclusive for all South African people. Our programs for socio-economic development are in motion, including our infrastructure capital investment program. We have expanded access to basic services, to health, education, and social protection, and through this, we are containing extreme poverty amongst our people. Our challenges. The progressive changes that we are working to bring about are long-term, and despite all these achievements, we are confronted with many challenges and our progress is uneven. The humility and honesty to acknowledge our shortcomings is a key trademark of leadership Oliver Tambo gave us throughout the challenging years he was at the helm of our liberation movement, and also as we embark on reconstruction and nation building in South Africa. This is also the injunction of his fellow African revolutionary, Amilcar Cabral, who said, "Tell no lies and claim no easy victories." In this year's State of the Nation address in February, the President said, 22 years into our freedom and democracy, the majority of black people are still economically disempowered. They are dissatisfied with the economic gains from liberation. Whilst households earn at least 5 times more than black households, according to Stats SA. This situation with regards to the ownership of the economy also mirrors that of household incomes. The pace of transformation in the workplace, the implementation of affirmative action policies as required by the Employment Equity Act also remains very slow. The skewed nature of ownership and leadership patterns needs to be corrected. There can be no sustainability in any economy if the majority is excluded in this manner. Our National Development Plan Vision 2030 and radical socio-economic transformation. Members, we have adopted the National Development Plan, our Vision 2030, precisely to help us to focus our efforts in tackling the core challenges as well as obstacles to attaining a just and a prosperous South African society. The plan provides us a more coordinated and consistent steer to our programs and interventions based on measurable evidence. Socio-economic development requires far-sighted leadership. This is what inspired the National Development Plan, which was produced by the National Planning Commission as an independent body of experts appointed by President Zuma with the task to consult our society and key stakeholders in that process. We commend our parliament and all political parties who in August 2012 adopted the NDP in consensus on behalf of the people of South Africa. To remind us of the bold goals we have set for ourselves as a nation, the NDP commits us by 2030 to eradicate absolute poverty by uplifting the 30% of our people who live below the poverty line, to reduce unemployment rate to 6%, to significantly reduce inequality from 0.69 to 0.60 Gini coefficient through a range of policy interventions. Our government has to play a leading role in the implementation of the NDP, and in this regard, Cabinet wasted no time in ensuring that the goals and targets of this plan are integrated into our government's medium-term strategic framework, the MTSF, for the electoral period 2014 to 2019, as the first 5-year implementation program of the NDP. The MTSF is a transparent presentation to all South African citizens of the work of government, of the actions that are being undertaken, and the outcomes that we seek, and what is being done and measured towards realizing the goals and the vision of the NDP. The Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation, the DPME, has the task to ensure that the strategies and the annual plans of national and provincial departments are aligned to and advance the long-term goals and priorities of the NDP. On this basis, the department monitors the implementation of the NDP and reports quarterly to Cabinet and to the public through our website, as well as through branding and communication campaign that is being stepped up. All of this, honorable members, is part of institutionalizing proper evidence-based planning across the whole of our government and to lay the basis for effective implementation as well as accountability as individual departments as well as government as a collective. The midterm scorecard. Our midterm review of the implementation of the NDP shows that while we continue to make progress on a number of fronts, in particular on the provision of basic services to millions of our people who were previously denying them, on education, on health, on security, to name a few, our performance and delivery can be enhanced. We can prioritize better. We can utilize our limited resources more efficiently and more effectively. Let me share with you some of the numbers that State SA has confirmed. On quality basic education, almost universal access to basic education at 98.8% of 7 to 15-year-olds are attending education institutions in our country. Mathematics and the trends in international mathematics and science study scores have improved the most, from 285 in 2003 to 373 2 in 2015. The international midpoint is 400. Southern and Eastern African Consortium for Monitoring Educational Quality scores have also improved from 494.8 in 2010 to 587.2 in 2015. On health, the President has spoken about the life expectancy. Just to add that State SA is projecting and estimating that this year, the overall life expectancy will rise to 67 years. On child health has also improved, with under 5 mortality decreasing from 56 deaths per 1,000 live births in 2009 to 37 deaths per 1,000 live births in 2015. Maternal mortality ratio has also improved from 302 deaths per 100,000 live births in 2008 to 132 deaths per 100,000 live births in 2014. On higher education and training, the number of qualifying TVET students obtaining financial assistance annually has increased from 188,182 in 2012 to 235,988 in 2015. The number of students enrolled in public higher education studies at universities has increased from 950,000 in 2012 to 985,202 in 2015. On human settlements, from 2014 to 2016, access to housing has dramatically improved. Housing delivered by the state has increased by 295,179 additional units. 176,423 title deeds have already been transferred to homeowners, thereby reducing the previous backlog of 820,000. On delivery of basic services, 724,430 additional households have been connected to electricity, 52,778 are connected to non-grid, 305,100 additional households have received access to water. On social protection, more than 16 million beneficiaries have access to social grants, which is 91% of eligible beneficiaries. Honorable members, on the economy, indeed, our greatest challenge is in the performance of the economy, which continues to be stuck in low growth and which remains largely untransformed, this in the face of growing unemployment, particularly among the youth, and in the face of continuing black economic disempowerment. The emphasis on radical socio-economic transformation must be understood against this background. Radical socio-economic transformation must be reflected in the intent, in the content, in faster pace of implementation of all government policies and programs guided by the National Development Plan. As the President said in this year's State of the Nation address, this requires all of us as government to exploit to the maximum the strategic levers at the disposal of the state. Government is tasked by our citizens to legislate and regulate the economy and society to progress and transform it in accordance with the vision of our Constitution, to ensure, amongst others, that the national budget, which currently averages 1.6 trillion rand per annum, as well as state-owned companies, are accordingly aligned for this purpose amongst those strategic levers. In this regard, at its August 2016 Lihotla, Cabinet decided that DPME must work with National Treasury to review government expenditure and plans prior to the start of the formal budget process to ensure that the budget receives stronger political guidance and support government's priorities. This exercise will culminate in a budget mandate paper which will be produced annually prior to the allocation of budget by National Treasury. This will ensure, honorable members, that the national budget strongly supports the National Development Plan, as well as more effectively serving as a stimulus for private sector investment and broader transformation. Honorable members, it is also crucial that we continue to pay attention to enhancing the capacity of our developmental state to implement the NDP and advance radical socio-economic transformation. To this end, we need to accelerate the professionalization of the public service, strengthening planning, delivery, and accountability mechanisms across all departments and spheres, developing a consistent strategy to engage the private sector and other sectors in society in implementing the NDP. On Operation Phakisa, as the President has indicated, since the launch of Phakisa in 2014, there is good progress that has happened. In the oceans economy, we have unlocked about 7.3 billion rand in both public and private sector investment, and a total of 6,952 jobs haven't been created. On ICT and in education, there's been a deployment of devices in schools, such as mobile trolley tablets, to learners at 2,884 schools, 221 special schools, and in 125 teacher resource centers. And all this, as well as e-content, to about 978 schools. On the Ideal Clinic, of the target of 2,823 facilities by 2019, already 824 have reached the ideal status clinic. On the Presidential Infrastructure Coordinating Initiative and North-South Corridor, by 2050, it is projected that Africa will have the same population as China and India combined, with rising consumer demand from a growing middle class, and African cities will be booming. It is therefore important that in order to achieve this as a continent, we must close the annual $50 billion infrastructure financing gap, relying amongst others on our own domestic resources, not least Africa's pension funds, which are estimated at $1.3 trillion by 2025. Honorable members, to advance radical socio-economic transformation, we must rededicate ourselves to the NDP and to accelerating its implementation, paying due attention to the role of the private sector, organized labor, and other sectors of South African society. In this connection, our society as a whole is called upon to actively participate in the quest to craft our future that we want for this beautiful country. We must hasten the implementation of programs to achieve equitable ownership of the economy and redress the spatial segregation inequities through land redistribution. We must place nation building and social cohesion at the center of increased interaction amongst all South Africans from different social and racial backgrounds to advance our common humanity. Together, we need to grow strong leadership across society and mobilize our people to be active and responsible citizens to address all challenges that we face. We need to foster the creation of meaningful, sustainable social contracts which should propel our country onto a higher developmental and economic growth trajectory characterized by equity as well as inclusive and shared growth. Honorable members, there are no simple solutions to the question of economic emancipation in our country. We must fight with everything that we have to free ourselves from the bondage of apartheid that manifest in the problems of poverty, unemployment, and health outcomes, landlessness, and spatial segregation that we still confront. We must be focused, stay the course, intensifying the implementation of our programs guided by the NDP, and act in unity and acting in partnership. I wish to close with a quote from the Reconstruction and Development Program, the first overarching policy framework that was adopted by this democratic government in 1994. I quote, "By an election victory is only a first step. No political democracy can survive and flourish if the mass of our people remain in poverty, without land, without tangible prospects for a better life. Attacking poverty and deprivation must therefore be the first priority of a democratic government," close quote. That imperative, honorable members, remains true today as it did then in 1994 and is carried through in the Vision 2030, our National Development Plan, a program for radical socio-economic transformation. Let us all make it happen. The ANC supports budget vote 1, and I thank you.
Honorable Schengen.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, sir, Your Excellency, our President, Your Excellency, Deputy President, Honorable Ministers, Honorable Deputy Ministers, Honorable Members, there is a fatal flaw in the budget of the Presidency. The purpose of this budget is to facilitate the enhanced integrity of the state. But it will be used to support a president whose actions have consistently undermined that integrity. We cannot afford the bureaucratic philosophy that the wheels must be kept turning no matter how broken the car. We need to stop the car. I will not speak today on current issues, Deputy Speaker, vis-à-vis the President, such as the credit rating downgrades, the midnight cabinet reshuffle, or alleged plans to relocate the first family to Dubai. Instead, I will speak about the work of the Presidency, for it is floundering under our President's leadership. The most important thing, honorable members, and the most important prominent failing is its handling of the National Development Plan. I've repeatedly said that if the National Development Plan was implemented, it would be a great legacy for the President. But it is not being implemented. Indeed, even our Deputy Chief Whip testified that we must do so now after extolling the National Development Revolution before that. The NDP was meant to reduce unemployment. Instead, unemployment has risen 26%. It was meant to grow the GDP by 5.4% annually, but so far growth has averaged 1.5%. It was meant to reduce poverty, but more than half of our population now struggles with food insecurity. It was also meant to reduce inequality, but South Africa now boasts the highest inequality in the world. Why has the implementation of the NDP been delayed? The cost to our country is unconscionable. Equally unconscionable is the President's delayed response to the state capture report. Is it still being reviewed or simply ignored? And why is the inexplicable delay in appointing commissions of inquiry, even when there is a prima facie evidence of wrongdoing, as was the case with ESCOM, for instance? The IFA called for a commission of inquiry right from the start, but the President said no. I'm distressed, I must say, by the Tower of Babel in Africa's oldest liberation movement, the African National Congress. So during SONA, the President chanted radical economic transformation. But yesterday, the Deputy President warned of a hidden agenda behind this chant, for it may be used to plunder the resources of the state. Who should we listen to? I would like to get a response for that. What the President said, the theme of the President was actually the radical transformation, but we were warned against it yesterday by the Deputy President. Whenever we debate this budget, the IFU will ask, why is there no oversight committee? We have not had the benefit of interrogating the accounting officer, like in all departments, as we do with all the budgets. Why not? With a President so adept at avoiding accountability, surely oversight is a basic necessity. The IFU cannot support the budget or any future budget until Parliament is able to properly interrogate the details before we come to this House. Mr. President, let me hold you accountable. On Monday, you told traditional leaders that in November 2000, Cabinet rejected a recommendation to amend the Constitution to protect the role, powers, and functions of traditional leaders. But I sat in the cabinet at that time, and that so-called recommendation was never tabled before cabinet, because it was, in fact, a firm commitment, which was made by an ad hoc committee appointed by the cabinet. You chaired that committee, Mr. President, and you never honored that commitment. You'll be remembered for that. Those are the simple facts of the matter. I know you wish I should stop speaking. I remember how, after decades of my working with Mr. Oliver Tambo, Mrs. John Candy Meng suddenly said in the ANC mission in exile, Gaja is the snake that poisons South Africa. That needs to be hit on the head. Is that what happened last week in Ngutu? The ANC's top leadership descended on Ngutu, and as a backup plan, 10 buses were hired in Durban for extra mischief. I have the invoice. I know it happened, and it is the usual bag of tricks. The only reason I have survived, Your Excellency, the only reason why I survived all that is because I'm a protege of Dr. Pixigai Saraseme, the founder of this movement, of course Albert Lutuli. I was mentored by giants of this movement, such as Bishop Alpheus Zulu, Canon James Kalata, Walter Sisulu, Z.K. Matthews, and other stalwarts of the ANC. So, sir, as long as I breathe, I will not keep silent. I'm sorry that I cannot say everything that's in my chest in 5 minutes. Thank you.
Deputy President.
Deputy Speaker, President Jacob Zuma, Cabinet Ministers and Deputy Ministers, honorable members, distinguished guests, I stand here to support this presidency budget vote. Deputy Speaker, this month marks the 105th anniversary of the birth of one of South Africa's greatest sons in our country, Isitwalandwe Walter Ulyate Sisulu. One of the key architects of our freedom, Walter Sisulu was by nature and by conviction a unifier, but he was also a consensus builder. There is much that we can learn from him in terms of the way and the ability that he had, which he displayed always, of addressing challenging problems and to confront issues in a way that he always found solutions. I remember very fondly the simplicity that he had, the warmth, and the natural way in which he got people to work together to reach consensus. He worked throughout his life to draw people together, people who sometimes had completely different approaches to issues and to challenges, but he always found a way of getting them to work together and to reach consensus. Walter Sisulu's words after the adoption of the Freedom Charter in 1955 come to mind. He said it was not for nothing that thousands of South Africans from all walks of life, from all races, people from different political outlooks, religious beliefs, different social status, traveled to take part in the greatest assembly ever known in our country, the Congress of the People. He said that these men and women came in response to a clarion call to meet and to plan the future of their country as they would like to see it. It should not be out of place to suggest, Deputy Speaker, that members of Parliament, all of us here, we are here in response to a historic clarion call from our people as a whole to meet and to plan the future of our country as our people would like to see it. We are required, sitting here as members of Parliament, to work together in a common cause for the realization of the vision that was well articulated by the drafters of the Freedom Charter. The aspirations that were set out by our forebears in the Freedom Charter are now deeply embedded and entrenched in our Constitution. We are required by that Constitution to be bold, drawing our conviction and courage from our forebears as we continue to plan the future of our country, because the shadow of our terrible past has not yet receded and the challenges that confront our people are still substantial, making the tasks that we need to undertake rather urgent. We must therefore be bold and act with haste, because despite the significant achievements of the past 23 years of democracy, there are still children in our country who still go hungry. There are South Africans who've been looking for work for their entire lives. There are people who die from diseases that are preventable and treatable. We must therefore act with determination, because the legacy of land dispossession, Bantu education, migrant labor, and low wages continues to this day to define the life prospects of millions of our people. It is only through united action and working together, as Walter Sisulu enjoined us to do, through collaboration, through partnership, and through dialogue, that we will be able to put an end to 365 years of hunger, misery, and want. We know from our history, from our struggle for democracy, from the Congress of the People, and from the drafting of our Constitution, that we have the capacity for bold and determined and united action. It can be done, but only if we work together. Working together in various endeavors of social, political, and economic interaction has become what I would call the new normal around the world. Leaders and policymakers who ignore this tried and tested approach to addressing and resolving problems do so at the peril of preventing societies from moving to higher levels of progress and development. I have seen over the past year how working together can achieve great outcomes on a number of issues where positive outcomes were thought to be impossible. Positive outcomes can be achieved if we do draw on the energies of the stakeholders to address challenges that face our people, be they how to grow an inclusive economy, to build skills and capabilities, enhance the capacity of the state, and promote leadership and partnerships throughout society. It can be done, but only if we forge new ways of working together that involve all South Africans in a common struggle to fundamentally transform our economy and our society. South Africans, honorable members, are evolving ways of working together in a number of areas and endeavors. They are finding new opportunities to forge new partnerships, to come up with new initiatives, and to create space for collective effort. The initiatives we are continuously implementing are based on a clear vision and a strategic plan that is based on the NDP. Our vision is a vision that has legs, and it is not based on empty promises, such as saying that if they come into power, they will double the social grants that our people are getting. That is an empty promise. Our initiatives are founded on sound policies that are not based on sound bites. Our vision and initiatives that we embark upon are not based on platitudes that are articulated so as to grab the headlines of newspapers. Our vision touches and changes the lives of our people, as I will demonstrate. A few examples of how our work has enhanced several efforts that many South Africans are involved in with regard to working together to forge effective social compacts come to mind. Earlier this year, the social partners at NEDLAC reached an unprecedented and historic agreement on labor stability and the introduction of a national minimum wage. Many of us thought that the differences between the social partners, particularly a militant labor movement and a business class whose main focus is profit, would stand in the way of reaching agreement. Following 2 years of intensive engagement following President Zuma's instruction to us to reach agreement on this matter, labor, business, community, as well as the business sector and government were able to reach agreement. Although each of the social partners at times advanced vastly different positions, they all remained committed to an outcome that would best serve the interests of the people of South Africa. The consensus that was reached by all social partners on the national minimum wage enabled me to answer a question that was posed to me by Mr. Sello Molefe from KZN, who I met at a door-to-door campaign, and he asked me a question on why the minimum wage had been pegged at 20 Rand an hour and not at a much higher level. It was during that conversation with Mr. Molefe that I explained that whilst it would have been ideal and desirable to peg the minimum wage at a much higher level, it would have resulted in many more people losing their jobs. Following this explanation, Mr. Molefe said he understood the reasons for the agreements that were reached and appreciated the tremendous impact these agreements would have on the incomes of well over 6 million South Africans who have been laboring under wage poverty. He also said he understood that this landmark agreement forms a foundation for the struggle to continue to gradually rid South Africa of income inequality and move South Africa towards the living wage. From the 1st of May next year, when the national minimum wage is introduced, people like Mr. Molefe will be among those workers who will experience the real benefits of the national minimum wage dispensation. They will experience the real benefits of dialogue, of inclusion, of consensus building, and collaboration. Deputy Speaker, there are other areas where we see the emerging green shoots of social compacting. One of these is the Youth Employment Initiative, which we have dubbed YES, which is aimed at the challenge of youth unemployment in our country. This scheme will draw on the resources and capabilities as well as commitment of business, government, and labor to provide paid internships and learnerships for up to 1 million young South Africans over a 3-year period across the economy. For the proposed youth employment service to be successful, we are calling on all companies in our country to participate in this YES initiative by providing the internships, the mentorships, and the learnerships that are necessary for the transition of young people into the world of work. On skills development, we are pleased that a number of companies recognize the importance of making meaningful intervention on developing the skills of our young people. It is this recognition that we have encouraged and that has inspired a number of leading companies to form partnerships with various TVET colleges across the country. Through these partnerships, companies are providing resources and skills to institutions that are critical to the skills revolution that our country must necessarily undergo. As a result of these partnerships, colleges are producing young people with skills that are needed, that are relevant, and that are also appropriate for industry. It was during a Human Resource Development Council visit, HRDC visit to one of these colleges, the Flavius Mareka TVET College Intelligence Sasolburg, that I met Refilwe Magolo, a remarkable young woman with great dreams. Refilwe comes from Excelsior, a very small farming town in the Free State. She was raised by her grandparents in a poverty-stricken environment. She joined the National Rural Youth Service Corps, Nazareth, and acquired basic skills that then paved her way to a TVET college, and she is on a 3-year training program to qualify as an artisan specializing in electrical engineering. Now, through her determination and through the collaboration between the TVET College, business and government, Refilwe has been able to gain critical technical skills and essential work experience. Soon, Refilwe will join the ever-expanding ranks of those young people with the specialist skills required to drive the industrialization of our economy forward. It was also in this house last year that I described a pleasant encounter I had at another TVET college, the Ekurhuleni West TVET College in Gauteng, where I met young Palesa Hlalele, a highly motivated 22-year-old woman who has now completed her studies in engineering and automotive design. She told us that her ambition, Mr. President, is to be a diesel mechanic and in future to be able to design, assemble, operate and maintain these big yellow earth-moving equipment. We saw how her story of determination reinforces the importance of the significant investment we are making in TVET colleges. We call upon companies across the country that they should join this growing movement of adopting TVET colleges. Through such partnerships, young people will be able to access internships and apprenticeships much more easily. Even during these trying and difficult economic times, we will need to reprioritize our budget so that colleges are provided with the necessary infrastructure and technical expertise. Closer collaboration between industry and TVET colleges will help ensure that the curricula in those colleges is more relevant and responsive to the needs of industry. Globally, colleges all over the world thrive much easier when they are linked to industry, and to various businesses. This is a kind of collaboration that will move South Africa forward and liberate our young people from unemployment. Over the course of last year, Deputy Speaker, more than 700,000 South Africans were engaged in a number of public employment programs where they were providing essential public services while receiving a stipend income and at the same time gaining work experience and acquiring skills that many of them have learned and now become employable in various industries. These programs are made possible by the collaboration between communities, the civil society, and the state in its various components, local government, provincial government, and national government. These employment programs are responsible for touching and improving the lives of millions of our people, like Yandiswa Stemela, whom I met at the Community Works program in Orange Farm. A mother of 3, Yandiswa joined the Community Works program in 2010, cleaning alleyways, clearing dumping sites, and cutting grass, conducting menial tasks like that. An assignment as a cleaner in one of their site offices led Yandiswa to develop an interest in computers. Despite the fact that she had never seen one before, she fell in love with computers. Through the program, Yandiswa developed her computer skills and was given data capturing and administrative duties. And today, she is a full-time Community Works program site administrator, providing her with the means to support her children and her family, the skills to advance her career, and the motivation to mentor 4 other young people who are also involved in the program. Today, she is one of the many South African women who, thanks to the power of partnership and collaboration, and through sheer strength of will, are improving their lives and the lives of their families. Deputy Speaker, when I speak about, almost in singular terms, about these wonderful human beings, I want you to project in your head that we are essentially talking about thousands of South Africans who are being touched by these programs on a daily and on an ongoing basis. Another young woman whose life has been transformed is Dr. Nkumisa Gilata from Mthatha in the Eastern Cape, who at the age of 29 has just become Africa's youngest neurosurgeon. A fortnight ago, she graduated from the University of Pretoria, where she specialized after completing a Bachelor of Medicine at the Walter Sisulu University. And in doing so, she has become the 6th black female neurosurgeon in South Africa. Another area where we've seen the value of collaboration, leadership, and patience and understanding is through the work we are doing through SANAC. Someone else who has paved the way for other young women through her determination to live and succeed is Prudence Mabale, who I met through the South African National AIDS Council. Prudence was diagnosed with HIV in 1990 when she was a university student. Showing great resilience and steely determination, she decided that she would not allow HIV to kill her. She was unable to access antiretroviral treatment for many years and eventually started treatment at a public health care facility in 2005. For much of the past 3 decades, Prudence has fought a struggle, not just for herself, but for millions of South Africans who live with HIV. She co-founded the influential National Association of People Living with HIV and the Powerful Positive Women's Network, and is an activist of the Treatment Action Campaign. She is an organizer, an agitator, an activist, and a valued collaborator. And in many ways, the progress we have made in our struggle against AIDS is one of the foremost instances of a social compact at work, as well as exhibited through Prudence's life. In developing the new strategic plan on HIV, TB, and STIs, which was launched in March this year, we had to draw on the insights, the experience, the learnings, and the concerns of dozens of different partners, different organizations, and individuals, such as Prudence. We had to consider the needs of many different diverse constituencies. We needed to ensure that all had a place and that all also had a voice. We have seen the importance of getting people to determine their own destiny through collaboration. The achievements we celebrate in our national response to AIDS, to the AIDS epidemic, bears testimony to the virtue of working together, talking together with care and understanding. Honorable members, in another area of work, we started a program to replicate high-performance integrated delivery services across the country. For any government to succeed, it needs to be deeply entrenched in the communities it exists to serve. Since 2014, we have been working with a number of provinces to replicate Operation Sukuma Sake, which was originated in KZN as a best practice model of integrated service delivery. Operation Sukuma Sake is a model of a government existing and living amongst its people. We are pleased that many provinces continuously share their best practice experiences and are also providing regular progress updates to the Presidential Coordinating Council meetings. Where we are performing exceptionally well, we want to ensure that we share experiences, we share insights, we share practices, so that we create a rising tide of excellence across everything that we do as a government and as a people. As Africa Month draws to a close today, we reflect that the freedom and the democracy we enjoy today is partly a consequence of the huge sacrifices that the peoples of various countries on the continent made in the struggle against apartheid. As South Africa, we continue to work with our sister African countries, the African Union and the United Nations to contribute meaningfully to conflict resolution and post-conflict reconstruction and development. It is in this context that we continue on behalf of SADC to facilitate the achievement of peace and stability in the Kingdom of Lesotho. It is generally agreed that Lesotho, as well as that Lesotho itself must move towards the solution that has been crafted by SADC as it faces the challenges that it has always faced. It is now agreed that the decisions that were taken by the Troika, the SADC Troika, should be implemented. We wish the people of Lesotho the very best as they go to their elections on the 3rd of June. We trust that the election will create the necessary climate for the full implementation of the SADC decisions that I was speaking about. we express the hope that these elections will be free and fair and will represent an expression of the democratic will of the people of the Kingdom of Lesotho. Soon after the election of a new government, a multi-stakeholder dialogue forum of the people of Lesotho will be convened to address the constitutional and security issues that SADC agreed that Lesotho should address. And this will deal with their constitution, it will deal with the way their parliament functions, it will deal with the issues that have bedeviled that country with regard to the security issues. And through this dialogue, we are hoping and trusting that the people of Lesotho will embrace the solutions that all of them will come up with. This forum will be aimed at building consensus and trust amongst all stakeholders in the Kingdom of Lesotho and ensure a renewed commitment to the full implementation of the SADC decisions. We will do so appreciating from our own experience the value of dialogue and cooperation in resolving intractable conflict. It is the same experience that informs our work in working to advance peace and stability in South Sudan as well. As I conclude, allow me to extend a word of gratitude to the remarkable young women who have allowed me to tell a part of their lives, a part of their stories here today. These wonderful, and may I add, beautiful young women I was referring to, they being Refilwe Mkholo, Palesa Thalele, Yandiswa Stimela, Nkomisa Gilata, and Prudence Mabele, are here in the house as our special guests. And I would like them to stand up so that we can see them, because they are our partners in building a new South Africa. We would like to thank you as you are standing for inspiring us, for motivating us, and for challenging us with your lives and your determination. Thank you for demonstrating what is possible with perseverance, with courage, and partnership as well. Thank you most of all for coming to be here at this Parliament today. We thank you dearly for being with us today. Thank you very much. We applaud these young ladies for being role models for their peers and for demonstrating that South Africa is a land that is pregnant with endless possibility. Right now, our country needs solutions that will help us to renew and grow. But these solutions will only present themselves if we listen with our hearts to the cries and aspirations of our people. We must dream, we must hope, and we must build again. As the celebrated Nigerian author Ben Okri puts it, the most authentic thing about us is our capacity to create, to overcome, to endure, to transform, to love, and may I add, to dream as well. Ben Okri's words must live in the lives of young people who are in the public gallery, and many others are here, and to millions of others around the country. As we enter Youth Month, we call on the young people of our nation to become socially and politically active and to help us create, to help us overcome, to help us endure, to transform, and to love, but most importantly, to dream of a South Africa that is at peace with itself, that is making progress on all fronts, and changing the lives of all South Africans. I wish to convey my sincere thanks to President Jacob Zuma for the confidence he has placed in me, as well as all of us who work in the presidency, as we continue to diligently execute the responsibilities which he has entrusted us with. I wish to thank my cabinet colleagues for their support, guidance, and cooperation. Thank you to the DG, to the COO, the Chief Operating Officer, the Deputy Director General in the Office of the Deputy President, and indeed the entire staff of the Presidency for your commitment, for your hard work, and may I add, for your patience with two principals, the President and myself, who possibly from time to time drive you up the wall with the continuous demands that we make. We thank you for your diligence and for the work that you do. Finally, I wish all Muslims in our country a blessed holy month of Ramadan. Your spiritual commitment is an important part of our nation's moral and ethical fabric, and we wish you well as you go through this whole month fasting. Let us be bold, let us work together. It is in our DNA, deeply imprinted in our DNA, to be able to find ways of working together all the time to confront common problems. Let us continue to build and to develop the social compact that our country needs to move ahead. It is through this that we will be able to move South Africa ahead, as we have done in the past 23 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy President. Honorable Kubisa.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, His Excellency the President of the Republic of South Africa, Honorable Deputy President, Honorable Ministers, Deputy Ministers, Honorable Members, guests in the gallery. From the onset, let me say quite categorically that the National Freedom Party condemns the recent surge in gender-based violence which has rocked our nation. This scourge must be addressed urgently, and we urge you, Honorable President, to step forth and call for an urgent national summit to address this national shame. Furthermore, we also believe that the fight against gender-based violence should start in our houses and in our communities. Our people must be educated so that communities do not shield or protect perpetrators and criminals associated with gender violence. The criminal justice system must bite, criminals must be arrested and jailed immediately. Honorable Deputy Speaker, our current economic climate is very volatile and we need to turn the tide. Obstacles to economic regrowth are issues such as lack of investor confidence, particularly so after investment status has been downgraded to junk, corruption in both government and the private sector, which is causing instability, and the whole Gupta saga, which with its associated allegations of state capture and operation of a shadow state. South Africa has developed a culture and ethos of thieving. We must root out corruption and corrupt officials. Persons looting and mismanaging finances must be charged and disciplined. they must not be migrated to other state entities or state departments. In short, we need consequence management in our country. We don't cadre deployment. But on this other side, again, Deputy Speaker, as we talk about these issues, we must begin to audit our land and find out who owns 70% of our land, and so that we're able to empower the previously disadvantaged, mostly the black majority. We need to find out who owns the banks and who has an access to the finances. The National Freedom Party believes that we need a parliamentary ad hoc committee, similar to the one that investigated SABC, to investigate PRASA, ESCOM, and DENEL. As a starting point, the ad hoc committee should investigate the towing and froing of Brian Malife and all associated issues, because all these incidents have tarnished the image of our country. And until such time we have consequence management, we will continue to be embarrassed. Deputy Speaker, Joe Biden, the former Deputy President of the United States of America, once said, and I quote, "Fighting corruption is not just good governance, it's self-defense, it's patriotism," close quote. And having said that, Honorable Deputy Speaker, Your Excellency, our President, there are so many people in our country who do not get the resources and service delivery because of corruption. Just in the gallery, we have some of them who do not need things or resources for themselves, but for the public. For instance, we have Lou Peterson, who says in Manenberg they need a peace garden to be upgraded. They also need a mobile unit for the IDs. We have Brenda Adams, who say we need a mobile unit or a clinic because she was beaten by rats when she was in bed because the place is dirty. So we need to deal with these issues with a new spirit of patriotism as we take our country forward and also boost investor confidence. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next speaker is Honorable Mafu.
Enkosi Sekela Somlomo, Mongameli womzantsi Afrika obekekileyo uPresident Jacob Zuma, Sekela Mongameli womzantsi Afrika obekekileyo uDeputy President Cyril Ramaphosa, iimembers zesigqeba, amalungu ale Parliament, indwendwe, abantu bomzantsi Afrika ngokubanzi, siyanibhotisa. Sitsho kwangoku okokuba i-African National Congress, umbutho wesizwe, uyayixhasa le budget vote number 1. Ngale mini yokugqibela kule nyanga yokukhumbula nokubhiyozela ilizwekazi le-Afrika, sithatha eli thuba sibanxenxa abantu bomzantsi Afrika ukuba bangayeki ukuthatha inxaxheba ekwakheni iAfrika engcono, nokuthi ekugqibeleni bazi okokuba iAfrika engcono yenza into ba ibe yiAfrika ekhuselekileyo. Ekugqibeleni loo nto yenze ukuba sihlale elizweni elikhuselekileyo. Sekela Somlomo, as the apex department of government and a custodian of the National Development Plan, the Presidency plays a critical leadership and supervision role in galvanizing the whole of government and indeed society towards attainment of the vision of the National Development Plan, Vision 2030. In terms of the 14 outcomes, the Presidency leads the alignment and coordination of the strategic agenda of government. This leadership role further requires of the Presidency to have its feet on the ground, to listen attentively to emerging concerns of the sectors of the population, and to work in a productive manner with applicable government departments to ensure a timeous response to emerging challenges. Abantu bayakulawula, the people shall govern. That's what the African National Congress affirmed in 1955 in Kliptown. In the opening of the African National Conference in Durban in 1991, when the giant of this organization, Isitshwala Ndwe, the then President Oliver Reginald Tambo, who would have been 100 years this year, said, and I quote, "Let us organize the workers in the factories, organize worshippers in churches and other places of worship, organize students in their places of learning, organize farm laborers in the farms," close quote. It is in line with these words of OR that the presidency has established partnerships with various social partners to address the many challenges we have as a nation in order to move our country forward. Mobilizing the people as a whole through participatory and representative democracy is part of regulating the environment in the process of building a national democratic society, which is the African National Congress lodestar. Deputy Speaker, Izimbizo is a program through which government interfaces with the citizens of this country. This program, inspired by an old practice within the African culture, where communities gather together within their traditional setting to discuss the challenges they face and develop a way forward. This rich tradition is premised on the principle of consensus building. It is a participatory platform of mutual engagement amongst citizens. And this is what the presidency used mostly to talk to the people of South Africa. Just yesterday, the presidential imbizo was held here in Cape Town in LCC River. Taking the presidency to the people remains a key focus as it enables government to monitor service delivery by talking to the citizens directly on issues affecting their lives. The general experience is that communities welcome such opportunities positively and engage comfortably in detail with the president, which in turn allows the president and the members of the executive to witness engaged citizen participation in building better communities and a better South Africa. Since this program was relaunched on the 30th of September 2014 at Imbali Township, Pietermaritzburg, KwaZulu-Natal, it has since been taken to all corners of this country, in all provinces, in this term of office. The presidential Siyahlola monitoring program, which is another form of public participation, is meant to assess frontline services delivered through scheduled and unscheduled visits by the president in priority areas defined in the 14 national outcomes and 5 government priorities. On the day of the visit, the president is normally accompanied by the premier of that particular province, the mayor of that particular municipality, and relevant ministers and deputy ministers. The president does door-to-door and proceed to the main venue for the community meeting to deliver his keynote address and interact with community members. The Department of Monitoring and Evaluation coordinates the post-visit meetings with all the relevant departments where an oversight task team is established to monitor implementation of commitments that may have been made. So kumbula, bazawukhumbula abasempumalanga eKwaGafontein, bakhumbule KwaZulu Natal eMzimkhulu. Uzihambile, usaza kuzihamba zonke ikona zeli lizwe umongameli. Presidential programs enhances synergy of working together of all the three spheres of government. There are many success stories that can be cited from the 44 presidential Siahlola visits that have been taken to date, of how lives of the visited communities have improved following this presidential visit since the inception of this program in 2009. The other way of communicating with the public is a presidential hotline, which was established by the president during his first term as a mechanism that should be used by the general public to report directly in his office any service delivery related matter or any issues that they think he needs to know. The presidential hotline is quite popular with the members of the public, and it has successfully processed thousands of issues that have been referred to it. Deputy Speaker, we have to agree that monitoring and overseeing the implementation of the performance delivery agreements of the executive remain a key priority in this period of radical socio-economic transformation. We urge the presidency that a specific focus for 2017-18 should be around agriculture, land reform and rural development, radical economic transformation and job creation, as well as the fight against crime. Public participation programs have to be intensified around these key areas. We urge the president to come closer to one specific type of crime called femicide. We do submit, Deputy Speaker, that research has shown that where there is anarchy, femicide and homicide grows. We are a very angry nation, very intolerant. Disagreeing with one another doesn't mean inflicting pain on each other. We urge the president to better integrate programs of social cohesion, to instill Ubuntu in all of us. Deputy Speaker, the presidency has partnership with social partners which strengthen the interface with the government. The Presidential Working Group, amongst others, has committed to revitalize township economy and focus industrialization through local procurement. The Presidential Working Group on Disability, which works on promoting and mainstreaming the rights of persons with disability across government. The President has also convened the Black professionals to hear their concerns around government programs and to be able to tell him what is it that can be done to improve and take forward socio-economic transformation. The others that we might want to hear about is the National Consultative Mining Forum and the Presidential Working Group. The interaction with the interfaith group and the traditional leaders is also taking place regularly. We do submit, therefore, that social change requires social agencies, and that's what the presidency is doing. National democratic society is a conscious act of construction. It doesn't happen on its own. These partnerships enhance prospects of program success and the achievement of the commitment contained in the National Development Plan. Siyabonga, Mongameli. Deputy Speaker, one of the methods that the President account to the nation on the success of these programs is when he comes to this House to answer questions and when he addresses the nation at the beginning of each financial year, which is called the State of the Nation Address. Our behavior as members of this House during these events is public knowledge and an embarrassment. But in that process, what we should always remember is that we are depriving South Africans an opportunity to enjoy the accountability from the president they have elected. Deputy Speaker, the presidency is the hub of strategic coordination. It provides direction and thus the overall leadership and supervision of every sphere of government. It ensures an aligned response to the implementation of the government plans, processes, and programs. The South African National AIDS Council, which is known as SANAC, a special project led by the Deputy President, with its main focus being the fight against the HIV and AIDS and tuberculosis, an anti-poverty program that is also coordinated in this office. What we need to agree is that the relationship that the presidency have with the research institutions, such as the South African Council for Science and Industrial Research, the Human Science Research Council, the Statistics South Africa, and many South African universities, at this point can take credit for this administration that now uses data and evidence to inform policies. They don't thumbsuck policies, they are informed by these research institutions. Under outcome 14, the presidency is specifically tasked with popularizing moral regeneration and the Charter of Good Values. I believe we can do more to instill this spirit of Ubuntu through this program. Mongameli, ngeli thuba siyafuna ukubulela okokuba ngexesha uthetha nathi xa uqala ungena eofisini wathi kwintetho yakho ngo-2009 lo rhulumente uzaba ngurhulumente osecaleni kwabantu, uzaba ngurhulumente ofikelela ebantwini, uzaba ngurhulumente ophendula ebantwini. Siyavuma kwaye sitsho okokuba siyibonile loo nto isenzeka. Nezi zinto ndizichazayo ziyangqina okokuba oko wakuthethayo uyakwenza. Of course, we are all aware that social cohesion in a national democratic society will also depend to an extent to which the rights of the poor and the disadvantaged is dealt with. It is of this reason we, as the African National Congress, we fully embrace radical economic transformation as a road to national democratic society. Siyavuma kananjalo okokuba iMzantsi Afrika ungcono kunento obuyiyo ngezolo kwaye useza kuba ngcono ngomso. Yiyo loo nto abantu boMzantsi Afrika bengenayo into yokuphazamiseka engqondweni acinga into yokokubana umnumzana Mayimane bakuyo ekokuba bangaze bathi ngo-2019 balahle umbutho obakhiphe eJiphuta wabazisa enkululekweni. Siyavuma kananjalo mnumzana Mayimane ukuba intetho yakho oyithethileyo apha ubuninzi bayo yintetho ebibhalwe ngumuntu obhalayo obizwa ngokuba nguDaniel Silk kunye noPeter Masefield. Siyakucela ke mnumzana Mayimane ukuba xa ubhala intetho zakho uqinisekise ukuba zintetho eziphuma kuwe enhlizweni yakho ukwenzela uba abantu boMzantsi Afrika babe nenkolelo kuwe. Asinayo ke ingxaki yokokuba abantu abaphikisana nathi baphikisane nathi ngezinto esizenzayo, bangathi xa bephikisana nathi bafune ukudila nomuntu esiqwini. Ayenzeki ngolo hlobo kaloku lento yenkululeko. Inkululeko uthi ukuze uyakhe uyibhekise phambili ujonge loo migomo ufuna ilungiswe uthethe nayo. Into yokubana abantu imihla nezolo bame kweli qonga bebhizi bethuka benyelisa igama likamongameli ayibenzi ngcono lonto. Kwaye abantu boMzantsi Afrika badiniwe nini kukusoloko nithukana nomongameli. Kodwa ke sawudibana khona etshatshalazeni ngo-2019 bazawuthetha abantu sive sibone kwaye siyazi thina into yokokuba i-African National Congress iyawuphatha ade abuye uYesu. Siyahlala phansi ke ngoku sivumelana kwaye sisitsho sisithi siyi-African National Congress we do support this budget vote number 1. Ndiyabulela.
Thank you, honorable members. We have agreed you will have a 15-minute break. The bells will be rung to remind you to come back to your seats. Thank you.
Well, welcome to it. This is News Today, and you have just been treated to live National Assembly proceedings where President Jacob Zuma has just tabled his department's budget vote. A relatively calm debate in the beginning went off without a hitch, and the president spoke of various issues and projects that they will engage in and continue checking the progress of the other ongoing projects. Women and children and rural unemployed youth will also get the benefit from new projects that are aimed specifically at them. The president said that the country is fully committed to implementing the agenda of 2023 so that everyone can live in peace, and South Africa continues to support our sister nations to try to find lasting peace solutions and work towards a unified Africa. And this, he was saying in relation to how South Africa contributes and celebrates Africa Month. He further stated that that is currently happening in our country, good or bad, should be taken as a learning curve. He said that the presidency was very concerned about the latest spate of violence, racial intolerance, adding that the government is not opposed into an inquiry into the so-called state capture, as well as the other developments that seek to destabilize the country's growth as well as progress. He said such an inquiry would actually end all the current speculation and noise and allegations if it was dealt with properly, and those that are found guilty to be brought to book. But Mmusi Maimane took to the podium very heated, saying that Zuma has killed the ANC, which was the party of black liberation, and has also now killed the country. He made quite a few accusations against the president, calling the presidency a Gupta empire, and that if they vote for it, they will be voting for a mafia-style cabinet, and also calling the president a Gupta president. The chaos then ensued ensued with the back and forth points of orders, the DA Steenhuisen refusing to sit down before being recognized and calling the speaker dishonorable and that she needs psychological help, while Maimane refused to withdraw the Gupta president's utterance. And the IFP said they won't support the budgets, stating that all these proposals must be dealt with before coming to the National Assembly. Chief Mangosuthu Buthelezi also taking a swipe at the ANC's recent loss in the Ngutu by-elections. The Deputy President said we are performing well, but need to ensure that we monitor all the 9-point plan initiatives so as to gauge their progress or lack thereof, and then find new ways to properly implement these. Well, these were just some of the highlights of that budget vote debate. They've taken a 15-minute break. We are back with those live visuals for you, but we're going to continue with some news. Stay tuned.
A top 5 rated horse racing event in the world, Fashion